This is Kim Tilley on February 26, 2001, interviewing Eliceo Lopez for the U.S. Latino and Latino World War II Oral History Project. We are sitting in Eliceo's home, and it is in Austin, Texas. Okay. Well, I'm Kim. You already know that.
Nice to know you. Nice to meet you.
Okay, well, I guess let's just start off. We'll talk about, I guess your family, first of all. Go ahead and, I guess just tell me about your parents, maybe, where
Okay.
your parents were born.
My father's name was Esteban Lopez. My mother was Otilia Lopez. And they was both from Ganado, Texas. And that's where all the kids were born. 13, in fact.
Yeah.
The last two were twin girls. We lived there for quite a while. We were farmers. We farmed all the time. And my daddy passed away in 1941. And I had to quit school at that time to help my brother with the farm. And after about a year after that, he got drafted in the service. And about 6 months or a year after that, I got drafted into the service. So they went to farm.
So your parents would, your dad was the farmer, and he was a farmer.
Yeah.
Your dad was. What was Ganado like? Like, was it?
It's a small town. It's not a very big town. It's just a town rather than a city.
I've never heard of it on.
Yeah, it's real small. It's about 15 miles north of Victoria on the highway going to Houston. And it's not a big town. It's just a little country town, a lot of farmers, and one bank, just something small.
What did you guys do when you were growing up? Did you do anything, like, for fun?
Well, we went to the movies, and there wasn't a lot to do, tell you, other than work, you know, and go to school. We had to walk 3 miles to the school, which they had. It's not like the elementary school here that you go to the 7th or 8th grade. You would graduate from that school if you know. The name of the school was Whitehall School. And most of the kids went there. I went there till I finished the 10th grade. And I had to quit, like I said, to help my brother with the farm. And after that, I was drafted into the service. And that's where all the action started.
And you said your dad died in 1941?
Yeah.
What did he die of?
He had a tumor in his brain.
Tumor in his brain.
And there was no way that, at that time, I imagined that the doctors probably knew a little bit about it, but the hospitals wasn't quite so advanced as they are now with the sophisticated equipment that they have, now. And it got so serious that he just died from it.
And you had to quit school when he died?
Yeah, I had to quit school to help my brother with the farm, see? And like I say, he got drafted, and then about 6 or 8 months later, I got drafted into the service. So altogether, there was 5 of us in the service. But in World War II, there were only 3 of us. My oldest brother, Edward, myself, and then the younger brother, Henry. And then the other 2 went into the Korean War, the conflict that they had later on. And like I say, that's when I took my basic training in Tyler, Texas, which was Camp Hannon. And from there, after taking part of my training there, we went to Fort Ord, California, and finished the training there. And after that, we went overseas. I think we left San Francisco on May the 5th, 1944. And from there, we went to Guadalcanal. From Guadalcanal, we went to New Caledonia, which are all southern Pacific islands. And when we started the combat was in Bougainville.
Yeah.
That's where I got into the first action, And after being there, am I stretching this too far?
Oh no, I'm gonna.
After being there in Bougainville, from there we went to Leyte, Philippines, and had another.
Just gonna back it up just a touch. I just want to ask you one more question about just about kind of go back to your school again. Just you said the 10th grade, but I remember you saying when I came to the pre-interview something about how you really liked school and that you did pretty well in it. I mean, how was that like having to quit in the 10th grade and not be able to graduate?
Yeah, it doesn't feel very good, when you have to quit like that. Especially it was something that I had to do rather than something that you would just want to do, Yeah, I never did go back to trying to get high school, but after I got out of the service,
that's when you went.
That's when I went to the GI school, I mean the school where the government paid for, which was under the GI Bill.
So if you hadn't been drafted, you probably would be a farmer right now, right?
Well,
or maybe
it's a possibility that I would have been a farmer, and then again, you never know. Sometimes you get tired of doing something and you want to change. But by the time I got out of the service, my mother and all my brothers and sisters were here in Austin. And so I just came and just made this a home back in 1946, which I was discharged from the service in 1946 in February.
I guess, let me see. What do you remember? Like, do you remember, like, when World War II started? Do you remember hearing a lot about it, or was it kind of something really much?
See, the war started in 1941, December 7th. And at that time, we was we was farming in the country, so there was not too much communication like there is now, or even a few years after that. We heard about it. Of course, my dad had already passed away then. He passed away in May, and this war started in December. So we heard about it through, we had radios, and that was about all there was. There was no TV or anything like that. And, of course, I wasn't very enthusiastic about going just like everybody else, but when they draft you, you don't go because you want to, you go for they take you. You see?
Because you were young.
But anyway, I think that all in all, I thank God for getting out alive,
Yeah. How old?
And it's something that it's quite an experience, going into the service and just being in there in peacetime might be a different thing, but going in there during the war, you don't know what's going to happen next. You go to bed scared and you get up scared. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm not going to try to say that I wasn't scared, because I was, even though I was in combat. And I'm, like I say, I thank God every day for letting me come back alive, to my family. It's an experience that I hope that a lot of kids wouldn't have to go through, but I think the service itself, the Army itself, teach you a lot of things, like, for instance, they teach you the discipline, for instance, and they make a man out of you. Like they say, they make you or they break you. And it's a good experience in a way. And I would just kind of hope that a lot of the young guys that didn't get to go at least to the service, that they would have went, some of them. Not to the combat, maybe, not to combat, but at least to where they could have picked up the experience, to kind of get their lives straightened out, because I know that a lot of them are doing things they shouldn't do. I guess we all do something one time or another, but I'm saying that, getting out and getting a job and trying to do something for themselves and their families, and they teach you a lot of that.
See, so when you first were drafted, that's when you went to Camp Fannin. And how long did you stay at Camp Fannin? What was that like there?
Oh, I imagine that when you first go in, you just don't know what you're going to do next. So you just have to learn to take orders and do what you're told and do the best that you can. I imagine I stayed at Camp Fannin for about 3 or 4 months. And from there, we went to California to Port Ort, and we finished our training there.
I can't stand it. Just, I guess I don't really know. Did you encounter any kinds of discrimination in any way because of Mexican American? Was your
Not really. You know, I think that I discovered more discrimination while we were farming, because they were all Bohemians and Germans. We were raised with Bohemians and Germans, which are all nice people, but some of them, I guess at that time, they had I couldn't say that they had anything against us, but we had a few problems, especially in school, not by the teachers or anything like that, but like kids going home in bunches. And then once in a while we had little squabbles and we had little going on at that time, but we kind of got out of it, pretty good. It was quite a few of us and quite a few of them, and we got a blue eye once in a while and a good spanking at home.
And you guys were all fluent in English and Spanish, though, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, we learned, we went to school and learned English when we were real young. In fact, we were born and raised here in the United States, so we came up where it all was, you know what I'm saying? So we never had any problems with English or anything like that. And all of us are the same way, my brothers and sisters, my mother knew English pretty well. She could understand it better than she could speak it. But on my daddy, he was good. He was real good with English, and he was a very smart person. And he raised us all until he went as far as he could, And he kind of got us straight. He kept us in line, you know what I mean? He kept us pretty much in line. Yeah, let's say if it was 4 or 5 of us here, and one of them would do something wrong, he wouldn't even ask who did it. He just whipped the whole bunch, you see. And the next time, if we were in a group again like that, and one of us was going to do something wrong, the others would stop him. So that's the way he used that kind of psychology, to keep us in line. We helped him that way. We got some good spankings though, real good. But now you appreciate it, see?
Yeah. Now
when you're grown, and my dad taught me a lot of things that maybe I didn't use them right then, but I used them through my life. It helped me a whole bunch. And my mother, she was a very good woman. She raised all those kids, and after my daddy died, she never got married again. And of course, I'm sure she had chances to get married, but she just thought more of her family than of herself sometimes, and that's the way it was until she passed away in 96. She was 98 and a half years old. A good woman. She worked real hard. Yeah.
13 kids.
13 kids. That's a lot. And the last 2 were twin girls. Can you imagine 13 kids?
I cannot imagine.
It's a whole lot of children.
There's a lot of sharing, huh?
Yeah. But we always had plenty to eat. We raised our own cattle. We raised a lot of vegetables. And sometimes I think that a lot of people would be better off in the country now than in town, because every time you turn around here, you have to stick your hand in your pocket to pay for something. And there, you just go to the garden and get a bunch of stuff, and a little bit of meat here and there, and you made yourself a good meal, We always had lots of vegetables and plenty of meat, because we'd raise hogs and cattle and butcher. We had plenty to eat. We never worried about that.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, because during the Depression that preceded, right before the war.
Yeah.
And then they were still trying to get out of the...
I always wished that I had finished school, though. My daddy always wanted me to finish school, and I guess for one reason or another, I didn't. But I think that the service taught me enough to where even if I had finished school, I probably wouldn't have learned as much as I learned through experience, Then I would have out of the books. Of course, I always like to study. Anywhere I am, I like to pick up a book and read it, and it doesn't matter what kind of book it is. It's always something there that will benefit you one way or another. And
I guess, go back to, I hate going back to Camp Fandom so much, but it seems like a good starting point to start
mhm.
talking about some of the World War II experience. So I guess describe Camp Fandom to me. What do you remember about it? Like when you went there, I mean, because you were, just coming off the farm, and you were probably kind of scared being dropped.
Yeah, I'm very scared, because like I say, you don't know exactly what's going to happen next. You don't know or how many months you're going to train. You're just there to do what they tell you to do, and like I say, you don't know what's going to happen next. And but overall, it's a good experience. They teach you a lot of things that'll benefit you through your life.
Did you know how to, operate a gun and all that kind of stuff before you
Well,
went, or?
at first, they begin to train you. The first thing they do is uh, they'll show you a gun or give you a gun, and then they'll show you how to dismantle the gun. Uh, at one time, once you learn how to do it pretty much, then they blindfold you. And they almost want you to do it blindfolded, and some of us did it because there's just so many parts and they only go to a certain place and that's the way it is. But that's when you first go in, they show you the basics, and that's why they call it the basic training, because it's the basics of the real thing that's coming on, see? And during wartime, well, you more or less can expect that you're going to go overseas sooner or later.
Yeah.
But it didn't take me but about 6 months of training before they sent me overseas, because I went in on the 19th of November of 43, and by 44 May, I was on my way overseas.
And so
that's not very much.
did you go directly? No, you went to California, you said.
Went to California, finished there, and then we went overseas and did whatever we was going to do over there, the little fighting that we did.
Where did you go after? So you went to California, and where were you stationed there?
Yeah, we were stationed at Fort Ord, California. It's another military base. And we finished the training there, which was a little bit more advanced training than what you already had, see. And once we finished that, they said, well, now you're ready. Go overseas. So, but we don't know exactly where we're going. We know we're going to the South Pacific, but we don't know exactly where we're going to end up. I never heard of Guadalcanal. I never heard of New Caledonia. Never heard of none of those places before. And, you're just always waiting to see what's going to happen next. It took us 16 days and 16 nights on the ship to go across.
How was the
And that's quite an experience when you get out on the deck of a ship that big where there's 4,000 GIs on there, and you get up on the deck and you look up and all you can see is the blue water and the blue sky. You don't see no ground nowhere.
Had you been on the ship before, or?
No, I had never been on the ship, and I have never been on a plane either.
Oh.
Even now, I haven't never been on an airplane.
What was it like being on there? Like, for 60
Well,
days?
the ship was so big, it was so large that you would get lost in it if it's just like a big hospital. It's got like 4 decks, and the bottom deck is where the food is, because it's cool down there. It's about 30 feet in the water, the ship. And the first deck is where the food is, and the other 2 or 3 decks is where all the GIs are. And it's quite an experience to be on the ship. You feel like a little bit of claustrophobia.
Yeah.
Because you can't get away nowhere. You just got a certain amount of area where you can be, and if you have a little bit of claustrophobia, you get kind of nervous. Because the first 3 days on the ship, you're just sick as you can be. I mean, you get so sick that we had a lot of fun in a way, because I think the sailors had more fun than we did, because they could see us laying on the deck sick, and, I mean, really sick, because you got so dizzy from being in the water, that the sailor would come by with cigarettes and cigars and just throw the smoke right in your face.
Oh.
That was kind of funny for them, but it was rough for us. For about 3 days, you'd be like that, just laying on the deck, going inside and didn't know what to do. You felt bad, and finally you get out of it. You get used to the rocking of the boat. And the other 13, or 12 or 13 more days, you just kind of just look around, study a little bit. We'd have all kinds of, meetings that where the captains or the majors would give you meetings and give you lectures. And we had a lot of fun with some of those because some of the guys, the lieutenants or captains would just go on with the lecture and the guys would just doze off. Like they didn't even want to hear it anymore. They'd knock themselves out.
Were you nervous?
Yeah, that was kind of fun, huh?
Were you really nervous because you knew that you were going to walk?
Well, the first few days you're so sick you can't get nervous. You hardly get nervous, but after that, you do feel kind of nervous. I remember about the 6th or 7th day out, it was getting late one afternoon, and the ship only was going 18 knots an hour, which is just a fraction over 18 miles per hour. And I heard somebody say, "Man overboard, man overboard." Some guy jumped in the water. He don't want to go overseas to fight. So that guy jumped in the water right in the middle of the ocean. He just, they get so excited that these things do happen. And the captain got the message and just keep on trucking. There's no way you can get him out. There's no way you could get him out of that water. And some guys just didn't want to go. But that's the only incident that I know of that happened on the way down there. I thought it was kind of sad, for something like that to happen, but there were things that happened during the war, especially in combat, that some of the guys that they were just too afraid, and someone would shoot their fingers off. I don't know if I should put this in there or not, but
why would they shoot?
But it does happen. They put their hand in front of a gun and pull the trigger and just blow a finger off, and that send them back because that's the trigger finger. Isn't that awful? I thought that was, you feel sorry for the kids, but everybody's young kids, 18, 19 years old. Most of them were 18. Some of them even 17.
You were 20, right? Is that correct? Or
how's that?
When you went over and you were 20 years old?
Yeah.
School Bob.
Well, when I first went in, I was 18, see? That's when they drafted me. My birthday was September the 13th, and they drafted me before the 19th of November, see, which I was already in service the 19th. And they wasn't fooling around. When the war started, they wanted to get as many people in there as they could, I'm sure. And just run them through the basic training as quick as they could and spread them out in the different places. See, my brothers, one of them went to Morocco. Well, one of them went to Germany. My oldest brother went to Germany, and he stayed there. He stayed in Germany quite a bit. In fact, he married a girl from over there. He married a German girl, came back, and had 5 girls and a boy. And my other brother went to Africa.
That was Steve.
Edward was the one that went to Germany. And Eli went to Germany. But he just went there to visit some of my sister-in-law's brothers. He wasn't stationed in Germany. But it's quite an experience, I can tell you that. And it's not the easiest thing, but when you gotta go, you gotta go. And I feel that I think I did my part. I was just lucky to come home. Like I say, I thank God every day that He let me come home to my family, because a lot of guys that I knew from Corpus Christi and other places, they didn't make it back.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
Where did you
land when you got off the ship? You said you didn't. Did they tell you while you were on ship where you were going to land, or did you know that before you?
Yeah, what they do, they take you on a big ship only so far, and then from there they take you in these things they call alligators. It's a kind of a tank-looking thing where they put about 15 guys in it, but there were bunches of them, and they have a propeller just like a boat. And when you hit land, they put it in gear like a car, and it runs it on tracks like a tank. So that's how we landed. See, and the same thing happened when we made the invasion in Cebu City, Philippines. They put you from the big ship into these little alligators, and then when you hit land, like I say, they put them in gear and they take off just like a car, but they're more like tanks.
Yeah, they're like amphibian.
Yeah, I remember that when we made the invasion in Cebu City, March the 26th. I remember that they took us off the big ship and put us into this little alligator, and the Navy put in a barrage. What they call a barrage is when they shoot a lot into the beach, and all we could see was flames, like everything was burning up, and we was coming in to make an attack. See, and the beach was full of mines, all the landmines. So when we hit the beach, right as we got into land, when they shifted that thing into gear, they hit a landmine on the left track, and it just tore that track from off. So we just stuck a red flag on that thing. That means it's out of action. You see, that means that one unit is out of action. Okay, but just before we landed on this little alligator thing, there's a 50 caliber machine gun mounted on this thing, and we had a guy named Rod. He was shooting into the beach, and I'm sitting right. This thing is up pretty high, and he's on something, and he's shooting. And while he's doing that, I'm down here sitting, just getting ready to land, get into land. And while he was shooting, the shell off that 50 caliber was hitting me on my helmet, and just bouncing right off of it. That was an experience. So we hit the beach, and the first day we didn't encounter any heavy shooting or anything. But the second or third day we got into it pretty much with the Japanese. They were already dug in. And
was in Cebu City, or was this when you first landed off the ship?
Yeah, that's when we.
When you first landed?
No, this was this was not when we first got off. When we got off was in Guadalcanal. That's where the Japanese were still strafing the island. They were still shooting at close to the beach where we were, but lucky that I didn't never get hit.
Was the beach secure when you went in at Guadalcanal already, or was like?
There were already people there.
Okay. Oh, there were already Americans.
Yeah, there were some Americans already there, and the Japanese were strafing there. When they say strafe, they mean that they're shooting with pretty heavy guns. But I was just lucky I didn't get hit there. Anyway, after they kind of cleared up there, then we went to a New Caledonia, which was another small island, and there wasn't very much going on there. It was kind of a place where you would be transferred somewhere else from there, see? So from there, they took us to Bougainville.
What was that like?
That was about 100-mile square island. And they, I'm just saying what some people talked about was that I know there was a lot of Japanese there, but somebody says that there was like 43,000 Japanese on that island, and we were just going in. We had bunches of GIs going in. It wasn't just a few of us, and we had all kind of guns and artillery and the whole bit going in. And I was in the 81 millimeter mortars, which is one of the heavy units. And in Bougainville, we encountered quite a bit of shooting, quite a bit of action. A lot of guys got killed there, and the thing was that the Japanese had been there for like 3 years already, and their ammunition wasn't as good as, it's already pretty far gone, and some of the guys were sick also. We would run into the bamboo villages that they had built, and some guys be laying in, someone was sick, dying, and a lot of them wasn't, a lot of them was still in pretty good shape.
These are the Japanese you're holding?
Yeah.
What was the...
I guess it just must have been so foreign to go
to, I mean, like, I'm just trying to picture how I would feel going to an island. Like, what were the conditions like? What did you, I mean, like, you get off the ship and you just, I mean,
Well, our conditions, so far as being in shape and all that, we were a heck of a lot better off in shape and weapons and everything than they were. I would say that because the thing that I saw, when I went into the villages, was that, like I say, some of these people were sick, others were already dead, but then there was a bunch of them that wasn't, and we encountered quite a bit of fighting there. And I was again lucky that I was again lucky to make it through that. I remember one time though, this was in the Philippines. After we left Bougainville, we went to Leyte, Philippines, which was also a lot of fighting going on there. I remember one time I was the assistant gunner. See, the gunner is the one that on the 81 millimeter mortars. The gunner is the one that adjusts so that they shoot far away or closer. And I was the assistant gunner, which puts the shell into the barrel. Great big old shells like this. You put them in the barrel and then just lean over and take off. And one time I remember while I was doing that, there was a coconut grove pretty far away. And there was some snipers shooting from there. And they usually try to pick out the guy that with the heavier weapons. And I remember one time I took a shell and I put it in the barrel and leaned back, and when a bullet hit the barrel and knocked the paint right off. I think that maybe if I'd have been standing where I first started to put the shell in, it probably would have ricocheted off of that barrel and got me. See, he was aiming right at me. So that was another incident that kind of gets you to thinking, kind of gets you to thinking that, well, that you should appreciate things more than, excuse me, sometimes more than we do. But I was fairly fortunate all through the war. I was in a lot of encounters, and I was just one of the lucky ones to make it back. Of course, from there,
did you?
After that,
I was just gonna ask you, did you have a lot of friends that? Did you? I don't know if you went over like with friends in your division. Did you have a lot of friends that? I don't know.
That I lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in those campaigns.
Yeah, there was quite a few guys out of our platoon that we lost during some of those conflicts, and it's a real sad thing, to even think about it. Some of the guys were right there, sleeping right next to you, you might say, and they were from our platoon, guys that you began to know pretty well already, that went through most of the thing, and then maybe about halfway down the line or 3/4 down the line, you lose a couple of your friends that were hurt pretty much, It's just like losing a brother, you might say, or a very good friend here now. But the way they go just kind of make you feel a little bit different, because it's not natural death, It's guys that got shot and killed in different ways, It's sad. It's sad. War is nothing funny. It's no fun in war, I tell you that. And I just hope we never have another one, to where a lot of these young guys has got to go and lose their life. Of course, you got to defend your country, but I'm saying that I'm hoping that there won't be any more,
What, like, I guess, when you went to sleep at night, where did you sleep? And like, were you scared that you'd be attacked in the night?
Oh yeah. There was a lot of people that got attacked at night. See, the Japanese, they fought a lot during the day, but at night they had a deal they called banzai. They call it banzai. They come at you at night with long swords and things and chop your head off or stab you or whatever. And a lot of the guys lost their lives that way.
Did you sleep with how did you sleep? Like,
well, I tell you what, I slept about halfway scared all the time, and in a hole in the ground. See, Most of the time when we were in battle, at night, just before dark, everybody would make, like they say, a perimeter, an area where anybody would come in from any side would encounter. They would encounter us, you see. They make a circle, a big perimeter, big circle. And then we dig a hole big enough for 3 people. Not very deep, just so you can cover yourself and sleep if you have to. And then what we do, one of us in each hole would stand guard for 2 hours. And after 2 hours, you'd wake up the next guy, and you go to sleep. And he'd stand guard for 2 hours. And he just rotated all through the night. You see? You sleep for a couple hours, and actually you work. You say work because you're up those 2 hours watching, taking care of if anybody gets near you or whatever, any attacks or anything. You'd notify the others real quick, and then after your 2 hours, you wake up the other guy, and he stays up 2 hours, and you sleep a while, and it goes on through the night until morning. Everybody's awake. See. But that's the way we did it all the time. We slept in the ground many times. Sometimes it would rain and you'd be wet and have to stay wet for a couple of days. And it ain't like you change your clothes like here, you know. And other guys got sick from it. And it's not easy, you know. When you have to be in battle and then wet to begin, you know, to top it all, you're soaking wet and you can't change because actually that's all you got. You see what you got on, and you just it dries on your body, in most cases.
What kind of things did y'all have to eat?
All we had to eat was sea rations, what they call sea rations. Everything comes in cans. Different kinds of foods we had, but everything was in cans. You know, you preserve it like that. You know, it doesn't spoil that way. But we had plenty to eat. There was no doubt about that. And plenty to drink, you know, we had plenty of water, and lots of ammunition. Lots of ammunition, we had plenty of that. It's a real experience, I can tell you that. It's a real experience, and I was just lucky to make it home.
Yeah. So, after you were in Leyte, is that right?
Leyte, Philippines.
Leyte, Philippines. Where did you go after that?
From there, we went to make that invasion in Cebu City. See, the Philippine islands are divided into different, like you might say sections, you know, but it's more like Leyte, Philippines is one part of the Philippines, and then Cebu City is another part, and then Manila and Mindanao and all those are different places, but it's all in the Philippines. It's more like the United States, you know, the United States, Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, it goes on and on. And after we was in right after Cebu City, I was in the Philippines when the Japanese declared they gave it up. Okay, I was in the Markel Division, and right after that, a lot of the guys that had been there longer than myself came home on what they call points. You get so many points for so many months that you've been there. And a lot of the guys on our outfit, which was the Markel Division, were sent home. And the rest of us that didn't have enough points to come home, we were shifted into the Wildcat Division, which was the 81st Division, and sent to Japan.
Wildcat Division.
The Wildcat, they called it the Wildcat Division.
What did they call it?
I have no idea why they called it that, but they called it the Wildcat Division. It's the 81st. And from there, once we got into that division, then we had to meet new people, you know. It's just a few of us left out of our outfit. And they took us to Japan. We went to Yokohama. We landed in Yokohama, which is and then from there we went to Tokyo. And when we passed through Tokyo, you could just see nothing but concrete and steel rods sticking out of the ground where the United States had bombed it. Pretty much, you know. There wasn't very much left to Tokyo at that time. And from there we went on. They took us into a place way in northern Japan called Hokkaido, which is a very cold place. It's a lot of snow and very cold.
What was that like after being in the South Pacific where it's humid and hot?
Right.
When going
And then you go to Japan, and if you see Japan in the map, you can see it's kind of a long island. And we're in the northern section, which is the coldest part of Japan, called Hokkaido. And there I was put into the MPs, the military police. That's where I spent my last 5 or 6 months, in the military police. And from there, we came home.
What did you do in the military police?
Well, we took care of, you kind of keep peace almost like the police do here. Make sure there was a couple of clubs, and there was one across that side of the street, and there was another one on this side where the GIs would come and drink, and once in a while they had a little dancing going on, and stuff like that, and a little bit of drinking, and
how was that?
And my job was to kind of keep these guys from fighting and drinking too much, and getting out of hand. Of course, I had my days off too, but I would do my little drinking too. At that time, I drank a little. I didn't drink. I never drank a lot. Of course, now I haven't drank in 25 years or smoked or anything, and I'm happy about that. I'm sure that helped my health a whole bunch too. Yeah. And after that, we come home, and I got to be discharged at Camp Hannon again. The same place where I was inducted is the same place they released me from. So I caught the bus home to Austin. Never been in Austin in all my life, but I knew where I was going. I knew where my folks were. And a few months later, I met this young lady that you see in that picture there. In 1947, July 23rd, we got married.
I'm curious. I guess I'm still kind of curious about Japan. I'd like to know a little bit more about the condition.
Well, for one thing,
the strain.
they when you go into Japan just right after the war ended,
I mean, they're conquered.
You still have to carry weapons and things like that. When you go to the movies at night, you never go alone. You always take 6, 8, 10 guys with you, and they're all armed. But we had to walk a distance, and then they had this big deal like they used to where they had these movies where you drive in, park your car in a whole bit. Well, we were walking, see. And they had a few little benches there. So people sat there, but you always was alert, always careful. You never know. The war had just ended, and you don't know how many people still against you, and a lot of guys got ambushed, A lot of guys got ambushed and killed, even after the war.
It just seems, yeah.
Yeah, it's still a dangerous. You're still in the danger zone. You see, you haven't been. It's over. So far as legally, it's over, but it's really not over yet. A lot of guys still encounter problems on the outside.
Wasn't it hard for you, or it would seem like it would be hard to have to go to Japan after the war's over?
Yeah, and go to people that you've been fighting all along, and people look at you real funny. But it's always so many of us that there's nobody, unless they caught you alone somewhere, you see. And a lot of guys would get out at night, and they told not to go to certain places, and they would go anyway, and get caught over there, and a lot of them lost their life like that. I didn't know of any. I heard of a few. I never saw one that got ambushed or killed, but I did hear of some of them that did, because there were so many of us down there,
It's just when all your friends are going home,
Yeah.
you have to go to Japan.
Yeah, it's a dangerous situation, and you're still very alert. You have to be real careful with yourself and everybody around you, because you have no idea what might happen next. But you do know that the people don't like you.
Yeah.
When the war just over and you're out there, and you know that any chance they get, they're going to get to you, because they still have that grudge against you, for killing their own people, and especially after the atomic bombs where they killed so many people. I'm sure there were families killed, not only the GIs. I'm sure there was women and children killed. I imagine it had to be done, in order to stop this thing.
Did you see?
And it made you feel kind of bad about that too, but it's something that the United States had to do in order to end this thing quicker, you see.
Did you see the women and children at all, like in the Philippines? You were there. Did you see a lot of that? Like
Did I see any children?
a lot of civilians, and then
Oh, yeah, a whole bunch of them. I used to get along pretty good with some of them. Yeah, they were nice people. See, a lot of the Filipino people speak Spanish just like I do,
really?
but only a certain part of the islands would speak Spanish fluently the way that I do, and then others would speak it, but they would speak it in a little different way. They kind of cut the word short, and it would be harder for me to understand them. But this other part that I'm telling you about, I could understand them just like talking to somebody here. It's a funny thing. But one thing that I admired about the Filipino people, that they had a beautiful, beautiful handwriting. I would read cards that some of them had, and how they signed them and everything, and their lettering was just beautiful. It's something that I always admired. When I saw something like that, I thought it was something that I wish I could have, done myself, which I never could. I was good at math, but very bad at spelling. But boy, those guys got a handwriting you wouldn't believe. I mean, beautiful. Yeah. Real, real nice. And I got along good with them. I got along real good with the Filipino people. I never had any problem with them. They were very friendly. They were very friendly and very glad that we were there to help them out, because I'm sure that the Japanese did things to some of the people there that it's really sad, tell you the truth. It's really sad. And I'm sure they were real happy that we were there to be able to help them out this way. And whether we were happy or not, we were there.
Yeah. It must have been hard because these people were so friendly. I'm sure you had to see. Yeah.
One thing in Japan that I never forget is that we'd go into a place to eat, and we always had to be real. You didn't know whether you wanted to eat or not, tell you the truth, because it was so short a time since the war had been over that you wasn't sure what they might put something in your food or something. But anyway, they would treat us rice and stuff, and then they give you these little sticks to eat with. Man, I almost starved. I almost starved. I could never get it right. I could never get that stick there slip one way and another. And I said, oh, forget it. Give me a fork. Let's go back to USA. It was a lot of fun, though. It's quite an experience. You hit all these places like that through the war and some of them, and then after the war and the other places. And it's really, it's an experience that you never forget.
How did you feel when they told you were going home?
Oh, God. And it's just taking a big load off your back. You know what I'm saying? Make you feel good. You're always homesick, You stay overseas for 20 some odd months, 27 months, or 2.5 years, or you haven't seen your people and your relatives in all that time, especially your mother and brothers and sisters. Or you think about your friends too, but mostly your family, Mostly your mother, your brothers and sisters. You miss them. You miss them. Yeah, I was always homesick. Always homesick. And having to go through it, you're always wishing that it'd be over quick, For everybody's sake, not only for yourself, but for everybody else. So everybody else could be at home. And some poor guys didn't make it, and that was really sad. Real sad.
The family write letters. And
Oh, did your family write letters?
I said,
Did your family write letters?
oh
You
yeah,
over there?
oh yeah, we got plenty of mail.
Yeah, look.
Yeah, whenever it was time for mail time. So everybody line up. Jackson, Lopez here. Even if it was one letter a month, that's okay.
That's like the high.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, to hear from your people, how they doing, everybody okay, and right away you want to write back. And there was times when we didn't have that much time to write, especially that one time when we were in the Philippines, we was up in the hills fighting for 90 days. 90 days, 3 months, until we came down, Once we came down, then I had a touch of malaria when we came off the hills from fighting. I had a touch of malaria. So they put me in the hospital. I stayed in the hospital 4 days with malaria. And the guy said, went to see me, friends of mine to go see me. They said I had my eyes open, but I couldn't see them. The fever was so high that even with your eyes open, you couldn't see nothing. The fever gets you pretty bad. Malaria is bad. I got bit by a mosquito somewhere up in the islands while we were fighting. But it was just about at the end of the time that we were coming down up the hill. And I remember that one time when I came down pretty sick, they put me in the hospital. And that fever was so hot, man, you burning up,
Already hot enough.
Yeah, and sometimes if you get it bad enough, that stuff will kill you. And friends of mine used to go see me, and they said, you had your eyes open, didn't you see us? I said, no, I didn't even know you was there. Man, that's terrible. But anyway, I had it coming. When we came home on the ship, I had it on the ship again. It hit me one more time.
You had it twice?
Huh?
Malaria?
Yeah. I had malaria when I was there, and then on the way home, it got me on the ship again, coming from Japan to the United States. I stayed in the hospital another 3 or 4 days. And they said that sweat just runs right off, just like water runs off your body, because it's so hot. And I don't think I ever had it again. In 1975, I had quite a fever here at home. And the doctor said he thought it was another malaria again. And then ever since then, I've never had it again. So I guess I moved around so much, it just kind of took off, I didn't get it again. I never got it again. And that was good. Because that fever gets bad. It's real bad. But it was quite an experience.
How did you feel when you came back? Especially not even going back. You didn't even go back to your hometown. You went to Austin.
Yeah, I came to Austin, a new place. I had to make new friends, Most of the friends that we left up there they stayed there. They were farmers. They stayed up there. And here we had to make new friends. My brothers had been here already for, maybe a year and a half. So they kind of introduced me to some of their friends, and that's how we got.
Did you feel different, though, after being overseas for 20-something months and seeing what you saw, and then coming back here?
You get a few nightmares. Don't think you don't. Yeah, a lot of guys came back what they call shell shock. Where they all of a sudden they just go, wow, for maybe just a short period of time, and then it's over. But I never had anything that bad, even though I did have shells, pretty good sized shells that exploded close to me, but never close enough to me where it would affect me. You know what I'm saying? Hit me or affect me in a way that I would have these. I had nightmares once in a while. I would dream that people were after me. That they was about to kill me or something. Or other times I would jump off a cliff and stuff like that, like anxiety or stuff like that, but never real serious. Never real serious. And I was happy about that, because a lot of the guys that got out and went into battle came out shell shocked and sick, and then sometimes they had to put them in the hospital, A whole bunch of them are here in Killeen, in the Veterans Hospital. They come back wounded, or they came back sick, or they came back shell shock, and they have a heck of a time through life, see. And I was very thankful that I came back in one piece and was able to get married and have a family. It's great. it's very nice to come back home after a conflict like that.
Yeah. Okay, well, still talk to me. Oh, do you still talk to anyone?
How's that?
Do you still talk to anyone from? You said you had the friend that was ripping
Oh yeah,
the paper, so you still.
this friend of mine, yeah. I've known him for years after I came out, and I never knew that he had been in the same places where I've been. And we happened to be talking here one day, and he was telling me about the service, and I said, "Well, what part of the country did you go to?" He said, "Well, I went to Guadalcanal, and I went to New Caledonia, and I was in Bougainville." I said, "Man, you're talking about places where I was." He said, "Yeah, I remember fighting quite a bit in Bougainville. And I remember that Guadalcanal thing where the Japanese were strafing the islands and doing all that." And I said, and he said, "Then we went to the Philippines." Well, he was right there with me all along, you see. After all these years, I just found out I've known him for 20 years or more. And I just found out here not too long ago that he had been on to all the places where I had been, you know, in the battle. And at the end of the whole thing, he got wounded quite a bit. He got wounded like 3 or 4 times. And he said that when he was discharged, he was in, he had these, what do you call it? They help him to walk. Crutches. I got a pair of them, I never use. I hope I never have to use them. He was in crutches. He goes to the office. He hadn't seen his right after he went in the service. See, his wife was pregnant when he left. And she had this baby, and he stayed over there fighting and all this, and made it through, even though he got wounded lots of times. When he told the major, he said, "Major," he says, they was going to put him in the hospital because he came back sick. He says, "Why don't you let me go home for a couple of weeks, and then I come back and spend time in the hospital as much time as you want me to. I haven't seen my baby that was born right after I left." And the major says, he gave him some kind of a sarcastic remark. Something about masking or something. He said that the major told him that. And he said, "Well, how about a week, Major? Not 2 weeks, just give me a week. I just want to see my baby." And he told him again, "You're pretty smart masking, ain't you?" Something like that. That was very discriminating. After all the guy had done and sick as he was and the whole bit. So he said, "I got so mad that I hit him with the crutch." He said, "And when I hit him with the crutch, I fell down because he didn't have that help." And he said, a lot of the other guys that were in crutches and things, they began to beat on this major. They helped him. And he said, because that happened, they didn't give me my Purple Heart. They didn't give me all the medals that you're talking about that I was telling them that I got. He says, they didn't give me none of those. They didn't give me anything. That man was eligible for about $1,000 or $1,500 a month all through this time because he came out disabled. They didn't give him a penny because of what happened. He hit the major with it. And I thought that was kind of crazy.
Did you ever encounter any kind of discrimination like that, or no? Not really?
Not really. In the service, it's a little bit different than on the outside, Of course, if a man doesn't like you, he'll tell you. You can sense it. And over there, and not only sense it here, they'll remark something, they'll say something, see, at that time. In the service, even though you sense that somebody may not like you, they wouldn't tell you nothing. They wouldn't want to get into any kind of encounter with you, you see. The reason there may be because of the military being so hard on people who that would do a thing like that. But here, I guess it doesn't matter. At that time, people fight and they have say things to each other. And sometimes you expected it, like in school, like I'm telling you about, we would get in fights every other day for one thing or another. But as far as detecting any kind of discrimination in the service, even though there was some, I've heard of others, that were discriminated pretty much and called different names, and especially black people also. They were told a lot of stuff. And to me, it didn't make any difference who was white and who was black and who was white. I just wanted to get it over with, I wanted to come home and start eating them good tortillas again. Oh, yeah. And it happened. I'm so happy about that. I only weighed 162 pounds when I got out of service. And within about 6 months a year, I went up to 180 pounds. I gained 18 pounds just like that in about 6 months. Eating good, get back to the family.
I guess now's a pretty good time if you don't mind me taking that off the wall, I'll let you hold it and I'll do it actually.
Oh, I can get it.
Yeah.
Oh, I got it. Uh-oh. I forgot about that. How about it? How crazy can I get?
Okay, if you want to sit down and we can talk about these, I'm gonna put your mic back on. And
I had this written down exactly the way they go. I had this written on a piece of paper somewhere that exactly for how they work. But on that booklet that we have there, it tells you more or less which ones they are. I put my shooters.
Okay, we got them circled over here. You can just kind of tell me about them if you want.
Well, right under each one of these medals, it tells you more or less what they are and which ones they are. Like this one right here is this one here. What's it say under there?
There's Army Presidential Unit Citation.
Okay.
Do you remember what that was?
No. There's a whole bunch of these. Now, I know this was the combat badge.
The combat.
Yeah, you get that for being in combat.
Oh, shit.
Oh.
No.
Like this?
Yeah.
Now you got it.
And so this was the combat.
This is the combat.
How did you get that one?
For fighting.
Did you?
That was easy. For fighting, you get this one.
Everybody does?
Hmm?
Everybody does, or?
Well, everybody who fought in that had anything to do with fighting, in combat, you get this if you've been in combat.
Okay.
Now everybody don't get this one. If you've been in combat, you get that.
Okay.
Okay. And this one down here is for bravery. I don't know whether I was brave or not, but that's what I got it. It's
right there for the
yeah.
Brown Star?
Yeah.
Is that the one?
That's a Brown Star.
And you got that for bravery?
For bravery, for being crazy, I guess. No, for being, they call it for being brave, but I guess if you're in war, you got to be brave anyway. So that's that one there, and you already got this presidential thing.
Okay.
How about the Asiatic Pacific? Is that what this is right here?
How did it
The Asiatic Pacific ribbon? It's got 2 Brown Stars. That means 2 battles you were in. And it's also have the Brown's arrowhead. Okay? That's for being in battle also.
And that one, does everybody get this that's been in that battle, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody who was in that same battle that I was in would get exactly what you see here.
Okay.
All right. And this is the World War II. World War II, is it on that one?
Okay. Maybe that's the one.
It's the one that's got the red in the center with
yeah, the World War II.
Mm-hmm. That's the World War II. That's for being in.
That's for serving.
That's for serving in World War II. Okay. Some of these are hard to explain because it's been so long that.
Oh no, you're doing good.
And I had them all written down exactly for that day when you would come in. When they got knows where I put them.
And then this one.
Okay, and then there's a Good Conduct Medal.
Good conduct.
That's a good conduct right here.
Did everybody get that one?
Let me see that.
The good conduct. That one?
The Good Conduct Medal. This one right here. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, if you were good and didn't get into trouble, didn't get spanked by the teacher, you would get this one. And that's everybody would get that, and if they did okay, especially if you was honorably discharged, which I was, I'm glad. And then there's
Those go along with
the little ribbons.
the liberation.
Which one is this one?
The Philippine Liberation Ribbon?
Yeah, that's for That's when you was in battle in the Philippines, and you would get that after you liberated that, like you won the battle. You know what I'm saying? Like you won the battle, you liberated, uh, and after that you get this, and then which other one? There's really about 7 or 8 of them altogether. Like I say, it's been like 50 some odd years, and some of these, unless you write them down, it's hard to keep them in your mind. But that's quite a few.
And I know there's a story behind these too.
Yeah.
Behind
Every one of those had a little story behind them, like if you were good, you'd get the good. If you were in battle, you get this. And you had a lot of close encounters, that.
Well, you actually lost them, right? For a while?
Yeah, we had a flood here. When we lived up here close to where we are now, where we live now, we had a flood in 1960. And we had water come in the house pretty much, about 2.5, 3 feet. And I lost all these metals that you see here. They were just somehow got lost. And I didn't have them for all this time. And my only daughter, Rose, said, Dad, I'm going to start riding to different places and see if we can recover some of these metals. Oh. I also lost a radio technician diploma that I got from 18 months of radio technician that I finished, and a diploma that I got for 2 years of cabinet making that were also under the GI Bill that the government paid for. I lost them together with those. Those I'll never get. But I've ridden to different places, and since it was a vocational school, and it went out of existence quite a while ago, there was no way that I could get those diplomas back. But on these medals here, they were for being in different places, for like the Filipino Liberation Ribbon, which was for liberating in the Philippines. You was in action there, and of course, if you didn't go, I assume you wouldn't get one. You know what I'm saying? So they all have a little story behind them, I'm sure, but I would have to sit down and write each one and to know exactly. I know what I did, but I don't remember when I got these. You know what I'm saying?
Let's talk about you came back from the war, you came to Oxford, and then what did you do after that? Where you came back from?
I went to school, under the GI Bill. These two things that I told you there, these two trades, they were trades that I took, the radio technician thing. I liked that pretty much. I could have taken television after that, but if I did that, I would have to go to Dallas to do it. Mm-hmm. And since my wife was working here, because we got married shortly after I got out, really. We got married in July of 47. And all through that time I was going to school, see. So I couldn't, after I finished my 18 months of radio technician, I couldn't go to Dallas to take television because she's working and I would have to, find a place to stay, and I didn't have a job over there or nothing, and she didn't either. So it would be kind of hard to go down there. So I just decided to take 2 years of cabinet making, woodwork. So I did that. And that's what I've been doing all my life. I worked for the state for 25.5 years. But before that, I worked 16 years for Dover Manufacturing Company, which is also woodwork. So all in all, I guess I put in 55 years of woodworking all through my life. 50 or 55 years, and that's all I've done.
What made you decide to do that? It just sounded like something that...
Well, I learned it pretty well, where I thought that I could make a living at it, and fortunately I did. I didn't make a lot of money, but I kept a roof over our heads all the time and was able to pay the bills with my wife's help. Of course, she worked quite a bit herself.
Where did she work?
She worked for a boat company, Glastron Boats. She worked 28 and a half years for Glastron Boat Company. And I retired in 87, and she retired in 1990. And with her help and pulling together, like you might say, is how we kept a roof over our head and raised the kids that we did. And like I told you about my son, he passed away a year and a half ago with lung cancer. He's the one in that picture over there. He's the one with the long hair, the picture. Okay. And my daughter Rose, she just lives up the road here. She was working for the state also for Bob Bullock's office. He was a technical writer until she got hurt on the job and she had to retire in 88. And Linda, they all finished high school here, see, right here in Austin. And she married an attorney, and they live in East Texas, in Nacogdoches. And she finished university over there. And she's a school teacher. She teaches the 5th and the 6th grade. And her daughter, that looks just like you, was here yesterday. She graduated from high school, and this is her second year at the university. And she's taking law school.
Yeah, last time I was here, you showed me some of the cabinets and stuff you've made.
Yeah.
So that was a...
Yeah, that's one of them right there. That one in the corner, I built that one. And then the kitchen cabinets, the top ones, I built those. And I built that whole wall up there. Yeah. And for other people, I have done all the work, you know. We built entertainment center, bookcases, a whole lot of stuff like that. But not as much now as I did when I first got retired, you know. I took about 3 months rest, and after that I went to working again. I got me a little shop there where I make a little gas money.
After World War II, and you said you met your wife right after, or like a couple months afterwards?
When I met her?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I got out of service in 46 in February, and I met her at the late part of 46. And, you know, I guess you might say it was love at first sight. We're both young people. She was, when we married in 47, she was 17, and I was 21. Everybody thought I robbed the cradle, but I don't. And we've been married now going on 53 years. And that's a long time. And I mean to the same woman. 53 years, and that's our 50th anniversary picture right there. 50th anniversary. We wrote my daughter Rose sent an invitation to President Clinton and his wife. And right there where you are, if you look to your left right there, you see a picture of Mr. Clinton and his wife on the further left. They wrote to us, and there's a little message under there. They said they couldn't come. They were sorry they couldn't make it, but they wish her the best of luck. Isn't that good? I thought that was pretty good. Yeah. And that's the way it's been. We have had little odds and ends here and there, you know, so far, but never nobody hit nobody or nobody running off or nothing like that. You know, we've gotten along pretty good all this time. Yeah, and she's still here. She's still here. Yeah, once in a while she'd say something, and I said, "Where do you pick me from all the others?" So I guess there must be some. It must have been something.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, I said, "You picked me out of all the others, so I guess I'm not as bad as a lot of people might think."
Were you still in school when you guys met? You were still going to vocational school? when you guys burst that, you were all...
Yeah, yeah. I was going to school, and she was working in the drugstore just up the road here. There was a drugstore at 6th and Comel, 6th and Chicane, and she used to work there for a while until she got in 1962. I think she went to working for the boat company, and I had already put in 16 years with this other company, and then she got in with Grafton Boat Company, and I got in with the state and worked with them. She worked 28.5 years for Grafton Boat, and I was 25.5 years for Texas and Plum Commission. And I'm going on 14 years since I retired. That's pretty much. But I enjoyed working. I enjoyed doing woodwork. I think it's a lot of fun. I learned something every day. You never learn it all. It's just so much there to learn. And it has helped me a whole bunch, you know. And I try to pass it on to some of the kids, like that man that's helping me now. I pass it on to him. He's just now learning. He's a young man, about 40-some years old. But he's never done a lot of woodwork, and I'm teaching him all I can so that he likes it. He helps me out when he can. But it's a good thing. I always wish that I had enough money to start a big shop where I could get a bunch of these young boys, you know, and put them in there to teach them how to do these things. Because when you own a home, there's so much that you need to do to it. Mm-hmm. And if you hire people to do it, it's going to cost you a fortune, you know. And lots of the work that this house have needed, like putting all this paneling all around here, and all this trim in every room, all the ceilings in those rooms and all was done here. We did it. But this way we didn't have to hire anyone. It cost us a fortune to do it, see.
How do you feel like your parents, do you feel like you've had more opportunities, your kids have had more opportunities, you know, each generation? Do you feel like...
Yeah, I think that we've had a lot of opportunities that a lot of other people didn't have, especially people who are closer to the border, you know, that come here to work. If you was to compare the people from over there with some of the people here, I think that we take them a long way. So as far as opportunities, you know, of course you got to get well educated. That's the first thing they need to do, is get a good education, which I wish I had gotten. You know, I probably would have done a lot better than I have if I probably would have finished school and maybe went to college a couple of years and maybe went into computers instead of woodwork, and I could have done a lot better. But I'm satisfied that, you know, with the little that I've got, it's all I want. You know, I don't want a whole lot. Of course, if it happened to come around, well, everybody would take it, you know. But so far, it's been happy in life. I am.
Next, I guess, yeah, my only other question would be, since you were born in Ganado and you had, like, you didn't come from Mexico, so you knew full. That's what I'm trying to say here. I guess, like, just how you've seen the changes, like, have you seen progress being made?
Oh, yeah.
As you were saying, you know.
Oh, yeah, there's a whole lot of progress been made.
You would never be discriminated, or you would never be called something on the street today in the same way.
But let me just say this, that I don't remember any time that anybody had said anything to me that I would feel that was discriminative, you know, that they were trying to discriminate me in any way. I've always got along with people. I don't abuse anyone. I listen to people. If they got something to say, I listen to them, whether I like it or not. I got along with people. I stay in my place, you know, so far as if I ever went into a place where there was a lot of other people there, I'd keep myself quiet. I just listen to what's going on. If I liked it, I stayed. If I didn't like it, I take off. I also learned that a long time ago, you know, to keep cool and keep quiet. You know what I'm saying? Don't say things that might offend someone. You stay within your boundaries. You know what I mean. You don't get out of line. You don't say things to people that just from top of your head. You think about what you're going to say. You don't want to hurt anyone. I think that's what has pulled me through all this time. I've never gotten beat up or hurt or shot or in jail or nothing like that. Maybe because I stay in my place. You know what I mean. I don't abuse anybody. I'm not loud. I don't try to hurt no one. Oh, I might get slapped from my wife once in a while, but I don't think so. It's pretty cool. Life is good. You just gotta learn to live it, that's all. Gotta learn to live it. Don't abuse your body. Don't abuse anybody. Eh?
Yeah, if you have anything you'd like to add, anything you've said, I don't know, anything at all, like maybe how your war experience, like how you feel, like to sum it up, how it affected your life, you think?
I think that my daddy taught me a lot, and the service taught me a lot too, and that's what has pulled me through, really, because, when I was younger, before my daddy passed away, he used to say things to me that I thought maybe at that time didn't make any sense. I wonder why he says that. I mean, I don't know what it's talking about. But then as you grow older and you begin to think back or reflect at some of the things that was told to you, and then you begin to get the benefits out of it. You know what I'm saying? You begin to get the benefits out of those things that you thought at that time didn't mean nothing. But later on, they have helped you through life, and it's really something because, your parents have never wanted to do or say anything bad about you or tell you anything that's not right. They always try to help you. And my daddy used to do it that way. He'd say something that it acted, at that time, it seemed like it didn't mean nothing. But like I say, as you grow older, you reflect back to some of these things and you see where it really makes a lot of sense. And it helps you through your life, you see.
Do you remember anything he told you?
Well, no, except stay out of trouble and don't do nothing wrong, I'll spank you to death. Yeah,
Good.
yeah, he was a good man. I mean, I got to know him for all those years. I was only 15 when he passed away. But he always wanted me to finish school. He always wanted me to finish school. He kept pushing me to finish school. And I could only because I had to, But I know I should have finished later, and I didn't, and that was my own fault. I'm not blaming anybody for that, But I think that I learned enough to where if a man wanted to make some kind of a deal with me, I think I could stand my ground, you know what I mean? I wouldn't beat him and he wouldn't beat me. We'd come out pretty even, you know. I wouldn't want to beat him and he wouldn't beat me because I wouldn't let him, see?
Yeah, only to get about all I have for you today, but if you have anything else you want to add?
No, not anything else except that I appreciate you doing this. I mean, it's something that it's a one-in-a-lifetime thing, I'm sure. For me especially, going through all this experience, and it's always, I had never talked a lot about it. The reason for that, I don't know. Sometimes you wonder if you would tell somebody about the things where you've been through and what you did, they might think bad of you, that, oh, he's just trying to show off or something. And it's not that at all. It's just that, you never want to go back to bad experiences. You don't mind going back to good ones, but when they're bad, you really kind of want to block them out, Of course, they're always there, regardless of whether you try to block them out, they'll always be there. And this is about the only time that I've had an opportunity to be able to express some of these things and some of the experience that I've had. In all my life, you might say, this is my first really chance that I've had. And I'm glad that you were able to come and spend time, and we talked about it, and that it'll be beneficiary to someone, somewhere. Yeah, I thank you all kindly for it, really. I'm sure that y'all do a lot of this with other people, not only service people, but maybe, other, I'm not sure whether y'all do this to some other people too that have had other kind of experience, like being halfway eaten by a shark or something.
Haven't got that one yet.
It was fun though. I think it was good that we had this. It's going to make me feel better, I know, and it made you all tired.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I think that's just about all I got to say for this one time. I just hope I don't ever have to go to battle again. Yeah, if we don't have any more of these wars, well, I think that the whole world will be better off. I just feel sorry for the ones that didn't make it. Honey, you got anything you want to say here? No, I'm just kidding. I think that's just about it, girls.
Bye.
Bye.